want to get you on a
Oh,
flat
I missed
surface so
something.
you don't.
Hold on.
I wanted
Look
to
what
be
the officer
flat.
came back from his car with. Ladies and gentlemen, you might be seeing my #1 DUI master technique that I love to see. Hello and welcome to the DUI Lab. I'm John Bateman, a DUI lawyer. I'm going to review body cam footage of real DUI arrests, and we're going to see what the officers do right, do wrong, what could happen in court, and of course we're going to see what the little guy, the citizen, how they respond to their pullover. So calling balls and strikes here, going into a deep dive on this specific case. Today's video is from California Bodycam. Gives a little bit of a hint in the description. Speeding at 3 a.m. results in a DUI arrest. Sorry for my congestion. And also, I appreciate all the positive comments about trying to get my audio situation sorted out. Hopefully, it's improved today. I've moved my audio over to headphones. I'm hopeful that helps, but please let me know. And as always, if you have any questions about any of the issues on today's video, please feel free to ask them and I'll try to answer them. I'm sorry, it's been a little while since I updated. I tried to record this video last week, recorded it, accidentally deleted it. Hey, Po body's perfect, right? Okay, as we'll see on this video, as well as on any of the videos we watch on this channel. So without any further ado, let's get going and let's see what's going on here. We've got the vehicle already stopped and the officer's about to hop out and get it going. So here we go. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really humbled by the response by people who are willing to sit down and watch these long form deep dives into individual DUI cases. So hopefully this one is also entertaining to you as well. Let's go. Yep.
How's it going?
All right, personal contact here. The officer's going to be looking for the odor of alcoholic beverages, slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, trying to determine even at this early stage if the driver's impaired, especially since, look, it's almost 3 o'clock in the evening. That's going to be top of any officer's mind. Is this driver DUI at that time of night?
I'm Officer Martinez, Sarasota Police Department. The reason I pulled you over is because I paced you going 45 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour zone, as well as I saw you drive over the lane line between the left lane and the right lane as you were driving eastbound on Fruitville Road.
All right, so right now the officer's articulating the reasonable suspicion or probable cause, or reasonable suspicion or probable cause for the stop, right? Why did the officer pull the driver over? 2 reasons. One, speeding. It sounds like speeding 10 over from pacing. So that means that even though we don't have the video footage, the officer presumably was driving behind the vehicle approximately 10 over, which I don't think that's compelling evidence of DUI whatsoever, because everybody drives 10 over for the most part. And if you're behind somebody that's driving the speed limit, you're trying to get around them. So that doesn't mean anything. However, the officer does articulate that the driver might have been failing to maintain lane. I'd be curious to see that video footage. If that video footage doesn't exist, my curiosity would be why. It's just too easy to get footage of driving, and if I'm a juror, that's what I want to see. I'd put that as a responsibility of the state to provide that for me. But that is in fairness to the officer, a cue that the driver might be impaired. Apologies for my congestion.
Any reason for that tonight?
When? Hold on.
Huh?
You said Fruitville? When I was leaving?
Huh?
Okay.
Any reason for that? That was what I was asking.
No, I was just, my mind is fixing on.
Oh, okay. Do you have your
My
license,
mom-
registration, proof of insurance?
I just got a text message. I have to fly up tomorrow to DC.
You have what? Sorry.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. So I can show you. I should get
Oh,
a
are
text
you
message.
talking on the phone or?
No, to you.
Oh, to me.
Yes,
Okay.
from my father. So I grew up in Washington, D.C. My parents are there. And my mom is about to have an open heart surgery tomorrow. Quadruple bypass. and I have to I'm sorry, I swear, I always do this to myself, right? And then a friend of mine called me, said she's in trouble somewhere in downtown. I finished her work. My property manager out on Lido. I'm trying.
All right, and you'll see drivers do this sometimes, right? She's obviously, I don't think she's faking that she's in an emotional state, but that is something you're going to see sometimes through people that aren't impaired, but also when people are impaired, sometimes they get emotional. That's one of those famous symptoms of impairment that is just a common sense that people are familiar with. The problem is the more she talks, the less sense she's probably making, at least right now. So is that she's in a heightened emotional state, or is she impaired? Generally, my advice to somebody would be, hey, you keep the chatter to a minimum, right? You don't need to be explaining your life story to the officer. The officer, one, probably doesn't care, and two, the more you talk, the more impaired you look. Generally is what I find on these videos.
To hold myself together. I apologize. I'm just tired.
Okay. How do you say your name?
Maha.
Maha? Okay, how about the registration proof of insurance?
All right, asking for that divided attention task, right? Provide me with license, registration, proof of insurance. Again, emphasizing how important it is if you're just a driver out driving around to have those documents, all of them together. Obviously, your license you'll probably have in your wallet in case you get ID'd somewhere, but the other documents together where you know where they are and they're easy to grab.
Hallelujah. Thank God.
And that's the registration. How about proof of insurance?
All right. She monkeys around with her phone a little bit, trying to get proof of insurance going. I'm going to skip some of that just because I don't think it's compelling. It was in the original video, but there we go. Okay, so.
Like a mess. But.
Okay. Would you be willing to do some field sobriety exercises so that I can see that you're okay to drive?
All right, so that's the magic words, right? Do you mind doing some field sobriety tests so I can see if you're okay to drive? Which indicates to me that the officer's unsure whether this individual is safe to drive or not. If the officer's unsure as to whether this individual is safe to drive or not, then the verdict from a juror at this point should be not guilty according to the law. If she had said, hey, I'm not doing that, I've got a family friend who's a retired trooper. He said never do these tests. She's going to ride to jail, but her lawyer's probably going to be pretty happy with her. And we see this pretty commonly. That's a common line DUI officers use. And it might be part of their training. I'm not sure. But it makes it sound like it's a friendly interaction, and the officer's not being unfriendly. It's just that the officer's trying to find evidence of DUI. That said, I've had officers tell me that they let go a lot of people because of field sobriety exercises and the results. If the results look good, they let them go. Obviously, those people don't call me. So I've got an imperfect data set there. So I'd be careful drawing too many conclusions from it. But generally, I would tell you that these tests are made. They're not made to prove you innocent. They're made to prove you guilty.
Okay. Go ahead and just step out.
Exit sequence.
Watch your step.
Do you want to take off your shoes?
I'm okay.
All right, so during the exit sequence, the sharp DUI officer is trained to look for signs of impairment during the exit sequence. That's what it's officially called in the training materials. And one of those would be, climbing out, using the door frame and the door to climb out of the vehicle, which it appears that she does. But that said, if it's a low sitting car, you have to climb out of it. She looks like she might be a little bit shorter than your average driver, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell. If she's wearing heels right now and that's her height, that might be the case. So she might have no choice but to climb out. Additionally, she's wearing shoes, based on the other officer's comments, shoes that might not be the easiest to walk around in. That said, not falling down, not leaning against the car, it's hard to draw any conclusions from this exit sequence, in my opinion.
I think it's probably safer if we go over there, yeah. Because that.
Also of note here, and you can see it in the intro of the video. She was blue lighted. She stops the car. She stopped in the lane of travel, like in the middle of the lane of travel. that's something that, a juror's going to look at and have questions. The officer obviously is going to have questions about that as well. But that said, if you look forward, I'm going to try to use my little thing. If you look up here, we've got some curbage. So it's possible that she couldn't pull off because of curbs. That said, she's right here. It looks like it's some kind of an intersection. So she presumably could have pulled off there or pulled into a parking lot. So that's probably looking a little bit strange to the officer as well, as something that could be indicating impairment.
We're not in the middle of the road. Yeah, so let's head over here.
Hold on. Before you cross.
Go ahead. We're going to come over to this side over here. Huh? It's just I need somewhere flat, and that's kind of sloped over there. So
Should I take my shoes?
Huh?
Should I take my shoes off?
So it's up to you whether or not you want to take the shoes off or not. For this first exercise, you're just going to be standing. Okay. You're going to be standing still, okay. So it's not going to matter. Let's walk over to the right over here. Do you have any medical conditions that would prevent you from being able to walk or see? Or do you work?
All right. So asking, do you have any medical conditions that could prevent you from walking or seeing? What it looks like he's trying to do is the medical qualification. Basically, for these field sobriety tests, they're to a certain extent physical tests. And if you've got certain physical conditions, it's going to impact the reliability of the result of these tests. He asked if she had trouble seeing or walking. These tests don't test really your ability to see or your ability to walk. So as far as, is this a valid medical clearance, I would say, or medical qualification, I would say absolutely not. And that's going to probably come up later.
Glasses or contacts? No glasses, no contacts? Okay. So for this first exercise, I'd like for you to stand with your feet together, heels and toes touching, as best you can in your heels. Hands at your sides, and just don't move from that position, okay? What I'd like you to do, if you could move your hair backwards a little bit. Can you see that light in front of you? What color is the light? Blue. Okay. What I want you to...
All right, so we're moving into the horizontal gaze nystagmus test, and something I would like to draw your attention to is the flashing lights on the driver's face. So officers are instructed to extinguish any forward-facing flashing lights from their squad car. The reason for that is usually when they're doing SFSTs, they're doing it in front of the squad car. So if this is the squad car, they're going to be doing them right here. If there's flashing lights, it's going to be on the driver's face. That could potentially do two things. One, it might induce opticokinetic nystagmus, which is not alcohol-induced nystagmus, so that's going to be a problem for HGN. But the other thing is it's going to make it harder for the officer to observe the results of the test, because they're looking for very fine eye movements, and it's hard to see something like this if we got the lights flashing. So in this case, look, they've gone across the street. They're in a parking lot across the street, so the lights are coming from the side. So maybe the officer extinguished their forward flashing lights, but I don't know if you can even extinguish the side flashing lights without extinguishing all of them, but that's probably what we're getting here on this face.
What I do is I want you to watch that blue light with your eyes and your eyes only. I don't want you to move your head. Keep your head still and just watch that blue light.
Though.
Watch that blue light with your...
All right, I've got ADHD, right? When we move into the divided attention tasks, remember, she just said she has ADHD, a medical diagnosis potentially that would have an effect on the results of any divided attention task.
With your eyes only,
I'll
okay?
try my best.
All right.
All right, right now, presumably, the officer is doing another part of the medical qualification, which is checking for equal tracking and equal pupil size. If the driver doesn't indicate equal tracking and equal pupil size, they're not qualified for the HGN, and in fact, they should probably be checked by a medical professional, because if the pupil sizes aren't equal or the eyes aren't, then that can indicate some kind of neurological condition. It might not be that big of a deal, or it might be something quite serious. But even though this is the medical qualification, look, you can see the eyes are not tracking smoothly with the stimulus. You can see them kind of bouncing. Watch.
That's what I said.
Here,
I
got an idea. We're going to take and turn these lights off. That way they're not flashing.
No, seriously, I swear I have
Yeah, no, I'm going to have these lights turned down for you.
So I can only concentrate for like 2 seconds, but I will. The blue, I swear.
Don't worry, I'm gonna have her shut those ones off. We'll shut these ones off. It'll be a little bit easier.
All right, props to the officer. They're turning off those lights.
I know flashing lights seem aggressive. I just want to make sure you're going to be safe, okay? That's all.
Listen, I feel safe with you guys. You
All right.
do whatever you need to do.
Oh, gotcha.
I just feel embarrassed.
Don't worry, it's dark enough here. No one's
No,
going to be able to see you. All right. All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's start over. Feet together, heels and toes touching. Hands at your side.
I don't know if I'm gonna take my heels off.
Huh?
My feet hurts, but it's okay. Let's go.
If you want to take them off, you can.
No, let's do it.
Okay. If you could just move your hair back a little bit. Okay. And then I want you to look at that light right there in front of you, the blue light, with your eyes. And I don't want you to move your head. I just want you to watch that blue light with your eyes and your eyes only, okay? There we go. Just keep watching that blue light. Just keep watching the blue light.
All right, so looks like he did the medical qualification, but also checking for lack of smooth pursuit, which you can easily see here. It doesn't appear to me that he's moving his hand or the stimulus out as far as he probably should. Like a lot of times you'll see folks and they go way out there because you're going to want to, have the stimulus 12 to 15, I believe, inches away from the eyes, slightly elevated, and then go all the way out. So now we're going to be checking if he's done with lack of smooth pursuit, the onset of or distinct and sustained nystagmus at maximum deviation, which means we're holding the stimulus at maximum deviation, trying to observe nystagmus, shaking of the eye for a minimum of 4 seconds. That's where I see officers messing up on HG in this instance. Let's see.
Watching the blue light, okay?
Yeah. All right, so checking for distinct and sustained nystagmus at maximum deviation, but he's not holding it out there, the stimulus out there for 4 seconds, which would be required if he was performing this test in the standardized manner. If the test is not performed in the standardized manner, then the results aren't validated, period. Period.
Keep watching the blue light.
Yeah, way shorter than 4 seconds. Way shorter than 4 seconds. And that really goes to show why it's so important for lawyers to have this training, right? I've been through the same training that the officers have. I'm also a field sobriety instructor, and I've co-instructed courses on field sobriety, basic field sobriety. It's important for an attorney to have this information because the prosecutor is going to look at this and say, hey, 4 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 HGN, good to go. They don't usually get this training. However, if the attorney's had this training and they're sharp, they're looking at this and they're saying, hey, serious problems with HGN. If the jury's going to be asked to rely on this to make their determination, then they're being misled, in my opinion. Yep, and I want to go into a little bit why it's important to maintain the stimulus at maximum deviation for a minimum of 4 seconds is because my understanding is your eyes will automatically show some nystagmus can show some nystagmus when you go out to maximum deviation, and it's only if it's distinct and sustained. So distinct means not a little bit. If you got to guess that it's there, it's not there. And sustained means over 4 seconds. Why? Because if you're not impaired, your eyes will stop shaking before 4 seconds is up, whereas if you're impaired, they're going to keep shaking after 4 seconds. All right, so now the officer's slowly moving the stimulus out, pausing it when he notices nystagmus, and pausing to confirm that there's nystagmus there. This is he's looking for the onset of nystagmus prior to 45 degrees, so he's slowly moving that thing all the way out to 45 degrees. Now, the officer has to estimate what 45 degrees is. Sometimes they go off the shoulder, but that's not perfect because some people have broad shoulders and some people have narrow shoulders. It's just a way to guesstimate it, but we're going to see how that goes. Okay, all right. So it was distinct. I want you to watch this next time. Did he hold the stimulus in place before moving it back to center? No. Let's see if he does it on the other side. He's checking the right eye now. Nope. Yep, moved it right back. So what do we have here, folks? We've got improperly performed SFSTs or HGN improperly performed for 4 out of the 6 clues, right? So if we're judging this and we're going to say this driver didn't do a good job on this test, what we've got to say is this officer did not do a good job of giving this test, right? 4 out of the 6 potential clues are unreliable. They're not validated because they weren't observed pursuant to the standardized protocols that this officer was trained on. Okay, and if this officer was being tested on this in a classroom setting, in the trainings that I've been to and that I've provided, then they're not going to pass. They're going to have to retest. That's part of the NHTSA standardized protocol. So I'm not worried about this from a defense attorney standpoint at all.
Okay, relax.
Okay, stress me out.
I got one more with your eyes.
And it sounds like I'm busting the officer's chops. The officer is being very professional as far as his attitude towards the driver. So I want to give kudos to the cops for his attitude as well. And that's one of the most dangerous things to deal with as a defense attorney is when the officer is professional, kind, and looks like they're giving the driver every opportunity to succeed in these tasks. Which, in fairness to the officer, that's how it appears. So
I'm going to go vertically into the air. Okay, just keep your head.
Checking for vertical nystagmus now. That's rare. I see it now and then in my cases, but it's very rare. What it's meant to indicate is that the driver has had a large amount of alcohol for that person. So the dose of alcohol is a large dose for that individual's normal amount of alcohol that they consume. Of course, the question I always have is, hey, if we're alleging this person had a lot of alcohol before they drove and they're not showing VGN, doesn't that indicate they didn't have a lot of alcohol? And then they'd say, well, they drink a lot all the time. That's why we didn't see VGN and the science behind that. I don't know if that's I don't know how robust the science behind that is. But again, it's a very rare thing that we see.
Still and just watch
You're making me nervous for real.
Watch that blue light.
Who knew at 42 I'm going to actually get a sobriety?
Just try and relax.
Yes, ma'am.
Just relax.
No, but I've been told that everywhere. It's not even my, physical.
I understand.
So watch that blue light one more time. I'm going to go up in the air and just keep an eye on it, okay?
I'm not seeing VGN.
I'm going to do one more with this light, okay? I'm going to go kind of in a circle. Just keep an eye on the light. I'm going to get close to your face, but I'm not going to touch your face, okay? And just try and watch the...
All right. I've noticed this in Florida, and I don't know if that's part of the standard, protocols they operate under down there. My understanding is that Florida is a medical state, but I live in South Carolina, and there's THC available literally everywhere. Well, not literally, but almost everywhere. Like my grocery store, which is a chain grocery store, has like a third of their beer section is now THC elixirs and whatnot. So I'm wondering if I just see a lot more lack of convergence testing, which specifically, I think specifically what they're going for is they're testing for THC impairment. Basically, he's going to move the stimulus in towards her nose and see if she crosses her eyes. And if she can't cross her eyes, that's supposed to indicate impairment on THC and a couple other classes of drugs, if I'm not mistaken. But they'd be much less common drugs of abuse than THC or alcohol. So they're probably going for THC on this one. If they see results on lack of convergence, at that point they might perhaps they might move on to other of the ARID tests, which would be like modified Romberg, tests of that nature. So let's see how this goes.
Light with your eyes and your eyes only, okay?
It's important to keep in mind that these haven't been validated or standardized, because in order for them to test these tests against THC, they're going to have to dose people with THC. And I know there is a lot of research going on about THC right now when it comes to impaired driving and testing for impaired driving. But I haven't seen very much compelling literature that tells me we should be relying on these tests. Moving the stimulus in a circle, moving in. And she's not crossing her eyes, but, she's not trying, it looks like, to cross her eyes. crossing a little bit.
Okay.
From my time in the A-Ride course, my understanding is that the eyes, they'll be kind of going in to cross and want to like pop out. You know what I mean? Kind of like not pop out of the eye socket, obviously, but pop out of the eye crossing, which I didn't really see. She might not have been even trying to cross her eyes. I didn't see her cross her eyes that much. Some people can't cross their eyes.
All right, so relax. So for this next exercise, it requires you to walk, preferably in a straight line. Let me grab something real quick.
All right, the test requires you to walk preferably in a straight line, which, yeah, preferably.
Just hang out right there.
But there's a lot more to the test than walking, you know? It's always made to sound simple, but you're asking somebody to follow 20-something different commands at one time. And you're not really telling them what you're grading them on with walk and turn either, which, you know, these are all things that go to the fundamental fairness.
Oh, that's cop car.
It's good for you guys.
Signal 30 with possible 22 in progress.
Here's 1910.
Miami Trail, process 47 Street. 1017, signal 30.
No idea.
Sounds like car 1910 needs to slow down. I like when officers are just like that.
Yes, sir.
I think we should go over there.
Yeah, this is like.
Oh, I
Get
missed
you on a
it.
flat
Hold on.
surface so you
Look
don't.
what the officer
I want
came
it to
back
be
from his
flat.
car
Is
with.
it-
Ladies and gentlemen, you might be seeing my number one DUI master technique that I love to see. And that's when the officer is prepared for action, has their own roll of tape so they can make their own line. They don't have to rely on a line that's already painted on the ground. Excuse me. They don't have to tell the driver, hey, I want you to walk on an imaginary line, which of course is a field day to a DUI attorney like me. They can make their own line, and that's what he's got. He's got his roll of tape. That's what I tell a lot of young cops if they're like, hey, yeah, you know, what's some things I can do to kind of improve my craft? I tell them, hey, keep a roll of tape in the car. Now, sometimes if you're on the road, you've got a driver that maybe makes you feel unsafe, and you're solo late at night, you might not want to be bending over and putting tape down, because obviously these officers, you know, their personal safety is their number one concern, which is certainly understandable. No DUI arrest is worth somebody risking life or limb. But if you've got backup and the officer feels secure and safe, just have the tape there. If any officers ever stumble upon these videos and they aren't immediately turned off and discussed, keep the tape in the car.
This looks flat, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
This
rare
is
to
more
see
level
this,
than
but
it
seeing
was
it,
down there.
that's
Can you
awesome.
see though? Is the question. You want to hold this for a second?
Yeah.
Or just walk that way. Or that way. Yeah, that's fine.
I've never seen that
Oh, stretching out the tape. Let's go. You love that sound, don't you? All the DUI heads.
You hold that?
Put my flashlight too, that way.
Okay, so for this one, you are going to have to walk in a straight line on this line. So if you want to take those off, you can.
one. Well, may I try? Let's see. Can I do a test run?
Well, if you want to give it a try, I'll start the exercise with.
So great. She wants to give it a test run. She's obviously in some higher heels we saw earlier. She's like, hey, can I give it a test run? She thinks she just has to walk down the line, turn around, and walk back. That's what everybody that's not a DUI cop or a DUI lawyer probably thinks this test is about. What they don't understand is they're being tested on a lot of things that the officer's not telling them they're being tested on, right? So from her perspective, she can just walk down the line, turn around, walk back, and be like, all right, yeah, I can do this in these shoes. Go ahead. Let's get it started for real.
You okay?
Okay.
Okay.
but the
So what I
officer
want you to do is
understands
stand
there's
on
more
that
to it.
line, put your left foot on the line. Okay, and then I want you to put your right foot in front of your left foot, heel touching toe, hands at your sides.
You don't like this yet. I do have balance
Hands,
issue.
hands at your sides, and then don't move from that position until I tell you to start. Okay, I'm going to go through all the instructions, and then I'll tell you to begin. Okay, don't start until I tell you to. Do you understand? Okay.
So I just had a wild thought, and if we're talking about somebody that's got a stiletto heel, and I don't have one handy, but let's just say this is the tip of a stiletto heel, right? This is the tip. This is the heel up here. And we're trying to walk heel to toe, right? Where's the heel on that stiletto foot, right? On a flat shoe, and you're trying to touch heel to toe, yeah, easy. On a stiletto, are you touching this? Because the heel, if it's a 2-inch heel, your heel's always going to be more than a half inch away from your toe, your actual physical heel. Now, because she's wearing shoes that are have a heel that's 2 inches or higher in height, she's to be given the option to take them off, and the officer definitely has done that. But I'm still, I don't know how somebody could possibly do.
So
this
when I
test
tell you
with
to, you're
stiletto
going
heels
to
on,
walk
so
down the line in front of you,
we'll see
taking
about
9
that.
heel-to-toe steps.
So there's one potential clue, unable to maintain balance in the starting position because she stepped all the way
You're
off
gonna take
the
them off?
line. But again,
Go
look at
for it.
those heels. You get a
like
good view
legit,
of
like
them.
I'm not
Those
joking.
are high heels.
So I got a car accident. So I have like one side is off, so it's like always this side.
All right, now we're seeing the dark side of when an officer does a poorly executed medical qualification. Because the officer, if you recall from earlier, just asked, hey, do you have anything that makes it hard to walk or hard to see? Which, again, these tests aren't testing how well you walk, right? They're testing your balance and they're testing your ability to divide your attention. A better question would be, do you have any medical conditions that affect your ability to balance? Do you have any back, leg, or inner ear issues? I think is how it's articulated in the training materials. Because if that was the case, she might have said from the jump, hey, I've got these balance issues. So sometimes what happens is the officer will ask a medical qualification question that doesn't cover everything it needs to cover. And then later, when the driver realizes what they're being asked to do, they say, well, I've got these legitimate medical problems that could affect the validity of this test. And the officer's going to say, well, when I asked them to do the test, now all of a sudden they're saying they've got all these medical problems. Well, he didn't get specific enough. If he had been very specific and with his medical qualification, he could say that. He could say, once I asked her to start doing stuff, she had trouble with her balance and started making up all these phantom medical issues. But the officer can't say that in this case because the medical qualification question was just not effective. So now the officer's learning about medical issues that this driver has that could affect the validity of the test. And we know from the officer's training that if somebody has back, leg, or inner ear issues, it's going to.
You can take off your shoes if that's more comfortable.
May I, maybe I can I start without a foot?
What do you mean?
Like the right, like this way?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so look, she's showing rational thought. She's saying, hey, the balance on my one side is bad. On the other side, it's less bad. Can I try with the other foot in front of the other? With the left foot in front of right, instead of right foot in front of the left. Or one right foot. Yeah, that's right. That's correct. Excuse me. Which is logical, right? But what she doesn't understand is she's being tested on a lot of stuff. The officer's not advising.
So if
her.
if it helps take them off.
It's just fundamentally, in my opinion, unfair.
Now, when I asked you at the beginning if you had any medical issues or any conditions that prevent you from being able to walk or stand.
Walk. No, I do.
Oh, okay.
It's just it's just that balance on this leg. That's
okay.
about it.
See, that's a very sober person explanation, in my opinion. And watch this. She's taking off those shoes. Nothing to lean on or anything like that. If she does a good job, then that's great evidence that she's not impaired. In my opinion, it's probably something that didn't get written down in the police report because that kind of evidence doesn't make it into the police report most of the time. But it's on the video, which is why I love it when we have video. It's fair. That's why I love it. Video is fair. So let's watch her take those shoes off and let's see how she does.
Right there, Skip.
Shoes off. All right. Shoes off.
All right,
no
let's
problem.
start over. Left foot on the line. Right foot in front of left foot. Heel touching toe. Hands at your sides. Don't move from that position until I tell you to. Okay? So when I tell you to, you're going to take 9. You're going to take 9 heel to toe steps down the line directly in front of you. Touching heel to toe each time. Don't start until I tell you to. Touching heel to toe each step. Counting out.
All right, starts too soon, but I don't think that he gave the instruction, do not start until I tell you to do so yet. I can't recall for sure. I'd have to do a rewatch to make
Loud
sure.
each step
But
that you
it'd
take.
be unfair for me to count.
Once
that
you've
clear if
reached
she
your
hadn't
ninth
given
step,
that
you're going to leave your
instruction
lead foot planted. You're going to make a series of small steps to turn around. You're going to take 9 heel-to-toe steps back down the line. I'm going to do an example, okay? So when I tell you to, you're going to start and you're going to walk like this. 1, 2, 3. Touching heel to toe each step, counting out loud each step that you take. I took 3 steps.
I know.
But you're going to take 9, okay? 3 for an example. You're going to do 9, though. When you've reached that 9th step, leave your lead foot planted, and you're going to take a series of small steps around your planted foot until you turn around, and then you're going to walk 9 heel-to-toe steps back down that line. It's going to look like this. 1, 2, 3. Again, all the way to 9. I did 3 as an example, but you're going to do 9. Do you understand what you need to do?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to reiterate one more time.
Yes, sir.
Watch your feet as you walk. Count out loud each step that you take. Keep your hands at your sides. And once you've started the exercise, don't stop until you've completed it. Do you understand?
I do.
Do you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay.
All right, so that looked like a pretty good instruction stage of the walk and turn test. I'm trying to think if he left anything out. I'm not really seeing anything. As you can see, this young lady has stepped out of the balance or stepped out of the starting position, so he's probably going to count that as a clue. Even though this is like the second time she's done it.
Whenever you're
First
ready,
time she
go ahead
did
and
it,
begin.
She was wearing the heels, so I'm just counting this as a whole restart.
Don't forget to count out loud.
Sorry, she just make contact with them.
2. All right, if the driver doesn't count out loud, that's actually not a clue. So I'm not sure if it's appropriate for the officer to be interrupting her because, again, that's another thing that's dividing her attention, right? Dividing her attention. Remember from earlier, she has ADHD. So how is her ADHD affecting her ability to divide her attention here? Well, she's starting out with less attention, right? ADHD, the HD is, attention deficit, the first 2 letters, attention deficit. If she has a deficit in her attention, that means she has less attention. Less attention. She's starting with less attention. How do we account for that in this testing? The other thing is she's got a balance issue. She's got a balance issue from a car wreck. So she's not medically cleared to do this test. So the question to ask and the question the jury would be asked to ask if this was my trial, right? What you're seeing on here, what is impairment? And then what is ADHD? And then what is the balance issues from her collision injury, right? If you can't divide those up, then this test is worthless. And this test is worthless because she's not medically qualified. Seal to toe. Seal to toe.
9. Did you say 9?
Probably stops.
Just the same as I explained it. Yeah.
All right.
It's okay. So I turn around, right? I'm sorry. It's truly, I'm not joking. It's just this hip is really weak on the side, and I apologize. You said walking. I didn't know. But yes.
Yeah. Again, the medical qualification, rearing its ugly head. Hey, I've got these issues. You said it was walking. This isn't walking. And it's not walking, right?
So just complete the exercise as I explained it.
That's just not honest. Steps offline.
Then we turn around, right? Same.
Correct
Just the same
turn.
way that I explained it.
Two, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Do you have 21 charges? The housekeeping wheelchair got broken into. That's where the bike was taken from.
Okay. So.
All right, so definitely walk and turn, the officer's looking for 2 out of a potential 8 clues. Unable to maintain balance in the starting position. He probably started, if I had to guess, he probably counted starts too soon. Steps offline, misses heel to toe, incorrect turn. We're at 5. We don't need to keep going. So he's definitely counting this as a quote unquote fail, even though they'll say on the stand it's not a pass fail test. The scientific literature indicates that, hey, that this test is testing for BAC at or above 0.08 or below 0.08, period. If you demonstrate 2 or more clues out of 8, then that indicates, according to the literature, that by a preponderance of the evidence, the individual is a 0.08 or higher, period. From the perspective of the scientific literature seen in a microcosm, this test is a test. It is a pass-fail test, period. And cops love to get up on the stand and say, well, it's not really a pass-fail test, especially when the driver does a good job on the test. That's not true. That's not true. So I give her a pass on this one. Well, not really a pass. I just say it's an invalid test because she's not medically qualified. She's not medically qualified. But look, is that going to be in the police report? If I read the police report, is it going to say, hey, I began doing the walk and turn test on this driver, and it became apparent that she wasn't medically qualified and that I had neglected to do a proper medical qualification. So here's what I observed from the test, but I can't warrant the results because she's not medically qualified. Is that what it's going to say on the police report that the prosecutor's reading when the prosecutor's making a decision to take this case to trial or not? No, it's going to say 5 out of 8 on walk and turn. It's going to say 6 out of 6 on HGN. And the officer's going to say, or the prosecutor, who's never had these courses, doesn't understand the limitations to the science on this, doesn't understand the limitations to the testing, is going to look at that piece of paper and they're going to say, oh, this person must have been really tore up. And they're going to get in front of the jury and they're going to say, this person was so drunk. They did this, that, and the other thing. They failed all these field sobriety tests. And then it's going to be the lawyer's job to come in and point out, hey, actually, no, that's not accurate. If you're following the science and you're being honest about this stuff, because you have to be honest about this stuff if you understand this stuff, there's serious problems with what's going on. And the state is going to be unable to distinguish between impairment and the symptoms of balance issues and ADHD. Period, right? And the officer in a way is doing a disservice to themselves when they slop up an investigation like this. And I don't mean to be unkind to this officer. This is very common. I see this a lot. When they slop up an investigation like this, a lot of times it's not going to be caught. It's not going to be caught because if somebody is a general practitioner in criminal law space and they're reviewing this case, they're probably going to look at it as a prosecutor would. Because they haven't had the training. You've got to have the training to know what BS is going on with some of these cases. And so, the officers doing themselves a disservice because they're potentially going to have to get on the stand. And for the first time, the prosecutor is going to hear from the officer on cross-examination the problems with this case that the prosecutor is learning about in real time at trial. Wow, uncomfortable, right? Whereas there's two ways to fix this. The officer can be honest in their report about their performance and say, hey, there's issues. Here's the issues that are going to come up if this is a trial. And then maybe this should be handled in an alternate way. Or the officer can just not make mistakes. Again, Pobody's perfect. I make mistakes all the time. Check my audio. Hopefully it's better this time, but it's been a bear. If you've been gracious enough to stick with me through my audio issues, you know this. So, the officer could always retrain and really dedicate to this themselves to this. I know officers that are amazing at field sobriety, and it's because they do it a lot, because they rehearse it, because they review their videos. And some of them, it's because they've been beat up on the stand by a dirty old defense attorney who knows this material, and then they dedicate themselves to learning it backwards and forwards. And there's officers in my jurisdiction where if I have a client, I see a certain officer's name or a couple officers' names on these citations, I say, hey, you got to understand that nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. We're going to find out what's up. But Officer Smithy really knows their stuff when it comes to SFST. So we're going to see a real wound tight investigation. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty open with my officers that make a lot of DUIs. If their DUI investigations are real tight, real solid, I'll tell them, real, recognize real. And I like to see it because I respect this stuff, right? This stuff interests me. And when I see an officer who dedicates themselves to doing a good job on HGN, it's important for a number of reasons. One, that makes it the most fair for the driver, the most fair for the citizen, to try to indicate that innocent people aren't getting locked up unnecessarily. That's number one. That's the most important thing. Are there still issues with SFSTs? Yes, even if they're perfectly performed, there's still issues with SFSTs. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. But if they're performed properly and in the standardized manner, that's the best the officer can do. So that's all the officer can do to ensure that the process is fair, So if an officer dedicates themselves to ensuring the process is fair, how could I do anything but respect that? Number two, this can be difficult to perform. I remember when I took the SFST course the night before my practical exam, where you got to run through all this, 0 mistakes in order to get qualified. We were all nervous about this. We were all nervous about passing. You get a retest. So some people had to retest. I can't remember if I had to or not, but if I had to, I'm not ashamed of that. This was years ago. I'm actually taking the course again because it's been a while since I've taken it this summer.
We're going to move on to the last exercise. So for this exercise, you're going to be standing on one foot. You said that you didn't like to bounce on that one, so you can just choose to do the...
All right, one leg stand. What a lot of people don't understand is this is also a divided attention task. So her issues with ADHD, which are pretty much unexplored at this point, are going to potentially affect the outcome of this test. Her issues with her balance are also going to affect the outcome of this test.
Okay, so you can stand on the end of that line, feet together, heels and toes touching, hands at your sides. Okay, so for this exercise, like I said, you're going to stand on one leg. Okay, so when I tell you to, you're going to pick a leg, either leg. Like I said, for you, it could be the leg that you prefer. And you're going to put the other leg in the air in front of you, approximately 6 inches. Okay, not yet. Wait till I'm done explaining. Approximately 6 inches, or the size of a Coke can. Okay? Keeping your hands at your side, you're going to look down at your foot and you're going to count like this: 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. And you're going to keep counting up until I tell you to stop.
Okay.
Do you understand what you have to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to reiterate one more time. Keep your eye on the foot that you have in the air. Count out loud: 1001, 1002, 1003, and keep going until I tell you to stop. Keep your hands at your side, and when you've started, keep both legs straight. Do you understand?
Okay.
Any questions?
All right, for the one leg stand, there are really 2 stages, right? Stage 1 is the instruction stage. That's when the officer puts the driver in the starting position, feet together, hands down by their sides, and gives the instructions for the test. There are certain instructions that are mandatory and must be given because they're part of the training and they're part of the standardization. And if the test is not standardized, performed in a standardized manner, then the results aren't valid. So, everything would sound really good on this to literally anyone that has never been through this training and doesn't live in this world. But what did they leave out? He didn't say keep your foot approximately 6 inches above the ground and parallel to the ground. That's a required instruction. If he was being tested at his academy, according to the NHTSA standards, he would fail by leaving that instruction out. Okay. So, as far as I'm concerned, and again, is that going to be in the police report? I goofed it. No, that's not going to be in the police report. That's probably not going to be part of the prosecution's case in chief. It's going to be the attorney's job to figure out that, hey, he goofed this up, right? So if the attorney doesn't know this stuff, and most attorneys, quite frankly, don't, then the client is not being well served. In my opinion, if an attorney is taking these DUI cases and hasn't been through this training, and if not been through this training, if they just haven't gone through the book backwards and forwards, the training materials backwards and forwards, then the client's really being done a disservice, in my opinion. And I think you could see that from watching these videos. Think how differently, if you're a layperson, your opinion would be of this case if you didn't have an attorney going through it with you and pointing out all the problems. There's a ton of problems, but the officer probably doesn't realize it. The prosecutor is probably not going to know it because the prosecutor is not getting this training. The judge may or may not. It just depends on if the judge has had an attorney in their courtroom, or if they're a former attorney that's gone through this training, or if they're a judge and they've gone through this training. I know some judges have gone through this training because, again, this is a very commonly charged crime in a lot of jurisdictions. It's a very common jury trial setting, or kind of case that'll be at a jury trial. So there are judges out there who have gone through this training in order to educate themselves more fully on the limitations to this testing
No question.
process.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, you can begin.
But let's see how she does. She looks like she's having trouble.
So Maha, like I said, you can choose to stand on the opposite leg.
Okay.
Okay. It's whichever leg you prefer.
Yes, sir.
Whichever one you prefer. If that one is bothering you in some way, like you had said during the walk, you can stand on the other one. Whichever one you prefer. Okay.
Yes,
Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. I did it.
Just keep going right where you left off.
1011, 17.
All right, so she's put her foot down so far. That's one clue out of 4. Sways is another clue. I think you could count sways. I've seen her sway some. Uses arms for balance. That means the arms move 6 inches or more away from the body. So we're at 3 or 4 right now. Having trouble counting. 1012, 1015, 1014, I think was the sequence. Again, that's not a clue though. That's not a clue. That's not one of the 4 clues. But I don't like it when that happens, because a juror could say, hey, how could somebody not count? Now, the truth of the matter is she's doing 15 other things at one time. So my defense to a juror who would be thinking, hey, why can't she count, is
16.
Yeah, if counting was important to this test, then that would be one of the clues, and it's not.
2019, 1000.
Okay, you can stop.
Okay.
Relax.
Yes, sir.
So again, from the officer's perspective, we've got looks like 3 out of 4, whereas 2 out of 4 would indicate impairment or BAC at a 0.08 or higher, according to the literature, which is fairly unscientific. But
the
again,
red bracelet.
officer
Where's the red
training
bracelet
is
from?
going to interpret this.
So we went to a function where out on the St. Armand Circle. So we were out on, we had a private unit, like a private section out on Columbia, the restaurant.
Oh, the restaurant.
All right, so now he's asking questions about the booze band, right? The little, you can see it right here. It looks like the kind of wristband you get sometimes it's for admission to a function. Sometimes it's to indicate that you've shown an ID and you're 21 up. Whatever. Before you drive home, if you're driving home, cut one of those off. You don't want people getting confused and
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we had a private
misunderstand.
session with the board directors, and it was a session, because I survived Helene, because I was stuck out on the island, because you guys wouldn't let me out of the island on Helene, so I was stuck there for 4 days, protecting 60.
All right, again, look, she's talking too much. Save it for the blog. Save it for the blog. The officer doesn't need to hear all this, especially after these field sobriety tests. Nobody's talking themselves out of it.
We didn't keep it there. We told everyone to evacuate.
Why didn't she evacuate? Now call us if you need us to collect bodies. And I was like traumatizing,
Oh.
But it's okay. I would never ever stay out there. I'm not the captain of the ship. Got this. But
So the other problem is, like, a lot of what she's saying
Yes.
might make sense to her. It doesn't make any real sense to me. Let me put it this way: if a flight's
So you
early
work
tomorrow,
for Columbia?
to go up to
Suntide
DC,
Island
she's
Beach Club out on Lido. So where the public beaches, and we have Lido Island Beach Club. I think, Lido Island Beach Club, and then we have the Ambassadors and Suntide, and then we have the Mega Billion new construction. So I'm some type.
All right, I'm gonna kind of skip ahead a little bit here. Really, I'm curious about what I'm curious about here is the chemical testing, right? What is her BA? Um, that's going to be really important in a case like this where you've got such problems with the sobriety test, right? Because what's the sobriety test supposed to do? It's supposed to isolate impairment or distinguish impairment from ordinary idiot human behaviors, right? Because people drive like idiots, people act like idiots. We want to see and we're not arresting people for DUI because they're idiots. At least we're not supposed to. Or maybe we're not arresting people because they're unique individuals, what I should say. So how do we distinguish that in the field with field sobriety test? What happens if the officer performs HGN incorrectly? You know what I mean? Doesn't do a proper medical qualification. So the results of walk and turn are improper or invalid. Doesn't perform one leg stand in a standardized manner, so it's invalid. Also, she still has those same medical issues, the ADHD and the balance issue. There's nothing but problems with the field sobriety in this test. But if your average layperson, your average juror watched it, or your average prosecutor watched it, or even your average criminal defense attorney that doesn't do a lot of DUI cases watches this, they're not going to see all these issues, and they're not going to be able to appreciate how important these issues are. If we're trying to determine if somebody is impaired beyond a reasonable doubt, the state has that burden, and I don't see how they meet their burden in this case, absent some kind of chemical testing. So that's what I'm curious about. I'm going to skip a little ahead in the video.
Okay, this is called your implied consent warnings.
Yeah,
okay,
she's in the car.
I am now. Oh, whoops.
Got the wrong paper. It looks like the officer's having trouble getting their paperwork together, which, that's an indication that they might be impaired. That's a cue. They might be impaired. You know what I mean? Like, no, of course it's not. But if it's the driver doing this, of course it is. Just to give you an idea of,
Okay,
the shoes
I
on
am
the
now
other
requesting
foot.
that you submit to a lawful test of your breath for the purpose of determining its alcohol content. Will you take the test?
Yes.
Okay. That test will be conducted once we get to the jail. It'll be right after a 20-minute waiting period, and then we'll go from there, okay?
That's a pretty, compared to South Carolina's implied consent advisement, it's in really tiny print, but it takes up about half of a printed page. If it was standardized print, it would probably take up a full page, and it's a whole lot more than I'm going to lawfully ask you for a breath test. Will you consent? So that's kind of weird. Also, you wouldn't see it delivered in the field in South Carolina. It would be delivered once they get them back to the station, and they have them sitting in the breath testing room. So that's a pretty interesting thing. She indicates that she's going to provide a sample, and then at the jail, she was unable to follow instructions and did not provide an adequate amount of breath. That is a conclusion that was probably made by the officer. And you see this sometimes. People, while providing a breath sample, they'll try to do a little baby blow, try to fool the machine, but that's not going to fool the machine, right? So that might have been what she was doing, but there are also issues where some people cannot physically provide the amount of breath they need to provide, because it takes a lot of breath to get this machine going. You got to blow hard, okay? It's not something you could sigh into. You got to blow hard. So I'd need to watch video of this before I could make the determination that she was unable to follow instructions. It might be more accurate to say that she didn't follow instructions, and then that was probably counted as a refusal, if I had to guess, and triggering the implied consent suspension that they have.
Phone and purse are coming with you. Is that these items right here? Your shoes will come with us as well. I'll put those in the back of the car, and then we'll head over, okay? Your car?
Under the influence.
The car?
Do you have someone that you can call that can come pick?
There we go. On November 20th, 2025, she pleaded to an amended charge of reckless driving, not to the DUI, which indicates to me that somebody along the process saw the same issues that I did. So there you go, folks. Pretty interesting case, in my opinion. I'd be curious if you were a juror and you were watching this video along with the defense attorney in trial. What would your verdict be? Guilty or not guilty? And again, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you for sticking with me on this video. Hopefully the audio is looking better or sounding better. Let me know in the comments. I really appreciate all the constructive criticism that I've been getting from y'all. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.